All right, folks, here we go again. It is another episode of your favorite and mine, Dawson's Crack. You already know what it is, but I got to tell you every time. It is the Dawson's Podcast CarCast, where we rewatch every episode of Dawson's Creek in a row until we just physically can't do it anymore. We almost got derailed by Tubi taking it off, but luckily I still got a Hulu subscription, or at least a free trial for now. So we're going to try to run through as many episodes as we can, as fast as we can, until I just physically can't do this anymore. And we lost our light, so we're using our spotlight, so the lighting's going to be a little crazy, but that's okay. We love when the lighting's crazy, because what do we love more than anything else in the world? Things being crazy. So now we're on season 1. We're on episode 5. We're on one of my personal favorite episodes of the season so far. It is the hurricane episode. A hurricane comes to Capeside. What happens in this episode and how do we do it? We always do our summaries, and we usually use the website of choice, which is Television of Yore, and theirs currently, we're going to change it up a little. I'm going to paraphrase what they said, but essentially, Dawson's mom's extramarital affair is revealed about Bob. What about Bob? Well, Dawson's mom's banging him. And then the hurricane comes to Capeside, battering the town and really doing almost zero damage, honestly. It's really the most benign hurricane in the history of the planet in this case, and it's pretty funny that they make such a big deal about it. But a lot of plot happens in this episode. It's a fun, meaty episode. I love when it's a meaty episode. I love when it's plot, but it's not stupid plot. And this one has a lot of ifs, ands, a lot of what have yous, a lot of stuff to eat on. And we open up on a scene we always open up on, and it's Dawson and Joey hanging out in Dawson's bedroom, as always. And what are they doing? What are they always fucking doing in Dawson's room? They're watching the goddamn TV again. They seem to be watching the end of a movie, and then it clicks onto the local news station, and that's when we hear the hurricane warning announcing that all schools in Capeside will be closed tomorrow because there is a hurricane coming to Capeside. And remember, where's Capeside? Capeside is our imaginary New England town. So somewhere, in that neighborhood. So how often do hurricanes do damage in the Northeast? Every once in a while. So there's something to be afraid of. But this is what? 2000? This isn't even 2000. This is like 98, 99. We really hadn't seen a lot of hurricanes up east. Just saying. Yet again, the news is delivered by who else but Dawson's mom on the TV with her co-anchor Bob, who Dawson hates now because obviously he knows that they're banging. But the thing is, Dawson always secretly suspected that, or at least made comments and snide comments about it. I know he must have just been kidding, right? And the reality is just too much for him. But it's ridiculous for him to be mad about it. I get it. I had a similar situation when I was younger, and I remember getting bad news from somebody about somebody I cared about having an affair, and I did beat the shit out of the guy who gave me the news, which was not at all okay, and I was probably the same age as Dawson, so honestly, maybe Dawson's handling it better than he could, but it's like they're also excited that they don't have to go to school, and yet again, one of those things that just keeps happening in this show over and over again, not just hanging out in Dawson's room, not just Joey and Dawson in their room together, them watching TV, as always. The news is always on. Every time they turn the TV on, they shut a movie off, the news starts. What do they just continuously shut the TV off on the hour every hour? I just don't understand how his mom is always on the friggin' TV. That's when Dawson continues to kind of be a dick to Joey, and he tells her, I don't want to watch any movies anymore. This completely ruined my vibe. And it's like, dude, you're the one who turned the news on. So Joey, of course, heads out the window like she always does and says, at some point, you're going to have to confront your mom and deal with this, which he's not going to do. You know what I mean? Of course he's not going to do that. Now we cut to a scene where everybody in Cape Town's boarding up their windows, doing all their hurricane prevention, and we go in and see Dawson's mom and Mitch, a la Dawson's dad, talking. I'm going to stop saying a la. And they're talking about how Bob is the one who gets to cover the hurricane and not her. She's obviously upset about it because she says the only reason he got the assignment is because he's a man. Mitch says, who gives a shit? And then he goes over to check on Graham and Jen to see if they want to come over to Casa Leary and hang out and ride the storm out. What are they supposed to do with the grandfather, though? They're like, the grandfather's in a coma in the bedroom. They can't just leave his ass behind, right? And that's when Mitch leaves, and Dawson is, of course, like nasty about the fact that Bob exists in life. Now we cut to a new character, and this is Pacey's brother, Doug, right? So it turns out Pacey has a brother, and his brother's a police officer. And it cuts to them putting up no swimming signs, and they're both poking fun at each other. And Pacey just continuously attacks Doug for being closeted gay over and over and over. And I cannot tell, like initially at first I thought it was like a bit, but now I don't even know. Because just the relentless nature of Pacey, I can't tell if he's just continuously being a dick, because like early 2000s was of course the gay not gay era, where you couldn't even eat a hot dog in public without having to hide your face for fear of someone screaming the F word at you. So like it's not surprising to me that Pacey would of course be calling his brother out like that. The question is this serious? Like, does he actually believe that his brother's a closet case, or is he just being a fuckface? It's hard to say. Pacey, of course, they talk about, him liking Barbra Streisand and him liking musicals and do the usual tropes about what a gay person likes. That's when we cut away from them and we go to Joey, Bessie, and Bodie, her boyfriend, all together trying to like collect shit and keep it from flying all over the place. And that's when Joey suggests maybe they should go over to the Leary's house and ride out the storm there. We cut back over to Pacey and Tamara, and they're on the porch at the beach house. She's trying to bang her in her flower pots. He tries to lean in for a kiss in open air. She, of course, won't have that because she can have the affair behind closed doors, but she sure as hell can't do it in public. And that's when Doug slips around the corner, Pacey's brother, who's a police officer, and asks if he could help out and starts flirting with Tamara. This is where they kind of do a little cute shift because they go away from Pacey and Doug and Tamara's little bullshit where Pacey's obviously continuously being a jealous jerk-off. Doug doesn't like Pacey. It seems like they have a tension, obviously, that's there. But, I mean, if Pacey was doing all the shit he was doing, I could see why you wouldn't like him. They cut back to Jen and Grams, and that's when they decide to take the Learys up on their offer to go stay at their house during the storm, and you find out that the reason Grams is not there, and this is where I was like, what are they going to do? Grams just going to hang out? What are we doing here? Grams is apparently conspicuously in the hospital for tests, so we don't have to deal with him, so that we can move the plot along without having to deal with that. So now that Graham and Jen are both over at the Leary's house, she tries to help Dawson clean up the porch, and he's still being a dick about the fact that she had the gall to be a slut, and reveal that she was skanky in New York, and he's still being a dick about it. It's like, dude, get over yourself. I get it. You're 15, you're immature, whatever, dude, but she's obviously grown as a person. That's in her past. Calm the fuck down and get over yourself, dude. You're making me hate you, Dawson, in this moment. She, of course, knows exactly what he's doing and tries to confront him about it, and he pretends like he's not doing that. Now we come to the meat and potatoes of the episode. Dawson walks in and he hears his mom talking on the phone with Bob, and, a little kissy face thing going on. That's when he confronts her and attacks her and says, one of the weirder lines of the movie, he says, I'm going to award you a Scarlet A out of the Scarlet Letter. And it's like, dude, that's stupid. You're a fucking dick. She, of course, shakes him off. They have a little discussion and he says, why don't you tell your husband about this? And goes storming off to his room. And that's when you find Jen hiding out at his room. He goes after Jen and is like, hey, is the proposition of monogamy a Jurassic notion? Jen responds without even paying attention to the fact that the dude is talking his usual level of way too complicated, overwrought dialogue that no 15-year-old would say. She just moves right past that. Jen tries to defend Dawson's mother and says basically that, like, you need to calm down and realize the fact that your mother is a multifaceted human being who's otherwise a very good mother, and this is just one thing that of many things that you really shouldn't be hung up on. And he's not having that. And he kind of shoots a couple barbs over the bow at Jen, sort of insinuating that she's a slut, and she, of course, storms off because she's like, no, fuck that, I'm not taking this. And that's when you find out that Joey apparently has been eavesdropping this entire time, hiding out in the closet. Yet again, we have a situation where it's like, dude, Jen is wandering freely through Dawson's house. Dawson is wandering freely through Dawson's house. And now Joey is hiding in the closet yet again. It's like, dude, everybody needs to, like, close a door. I know there's a hurricane and everybody was invited there, but you can't just keep hiding out in the closet and doing weird things like that. It just seems too free and open air. I understand that Jen was invited in there, and obviously they're riding out the hurricane, and that's why Jen's there, and they have to have their hash out. But Joey needs to stop creeping around. She's too free and open in their house. She needs to just cool that off. So Dawson attempts to be shitty to Joey for hiding out in the closet, and Joey, of course, cuts him like super deep by saying, well, at least you still have a mother, because, of course, her mom died of cancer, and her mom was apparently a saint, and her dad, of course, was a criminal. So now Dawson feels especially shitty, and he should, because he's behaving like an ass. Then we cut to the action downstairs, and we have Mitch and Dawson's mom hanging out together, watching Bob on the TV. Mitch, of course, expresses that he's worried about Bob's safety because of the hurricane, and Joey says, nah, don't worry about that dude. He's a dick. Like, fuck that guy. Now we cut to Tamara, and she's making food for Doug and Pacey, and that's when Doug rushes out to see what's going on because he hears a crash on the porch, and while that's going on, Pacey takes this opportunity to try to kiss Tamara. She kind of flirts with him a little bit and pushes him off and says, like, haha, that's a felony. But then she still lets him get up on her. Like, that's just not cool. And while that's going on, they slip on the floor and fall together, knocking the tablecloth off, just as Doug bursts in to see them both wrapped up on the floor. Now we get the super big reveal where Dawson comes in, where his dad is fucking around with that stupid model of his weird aquatic restaurant that I cannot tell if it is fiction or a real thing. Every single time he's fucking with it, I just cannot understand whether he's being serious or not. And the beans are spilled about the Bob affair. Okay, so now Mitch is just blindsided completely. They have a whole discussion. She opens up about the situation. We cut to commercial break, and that's when we come back and we see Mitch is super pissed at her and cannot understand how this terrible thing could happen to him. There's a lot of crying and whatnot, and that's when Graham pokes her head in and asks if everything's cool. Tamara tries to salvage the fact that her and Pacey are on the floor in front of Doug by saying it was slippery and they tripped and nothing crazy was going on. We cut to Joey's sister with her boyfriend talking about their new future infant and like all the complications that go along with having a child. And that's when Graham pops in and says some nasty shit about whether the kid's going to be black or white, because she's apparently also a racist, which is nice. I didn't even know that was coming. And I knew she was like a bad person, but now it's like an extra jab of shittiness. And I do remember her vaguely saying something about the fact that they were an interracial couple, but now it's like clear and present that the grandmother is just a dirtbag. That's fucked up. And basically the Graham says like some shitty thing about how the fact that this kid is going to be identified as different because he's interracial, right? And they say, well, he's going to be half white and 100% loved, and basically tell her to eat dicks. Because I'm like, fuck you, Graham, dude. What is your problem? Why are you always so judgy? Your Christian horseshit is annoying, and now you're being nasty about the gall that they have like, fuck you. You're a terrible person. I hate you. So we cut back to Jen and Joey sitting on the front porch watching Mitch just sit out in his SUV, like struggling to understand what the fuck just happened to him. And he's just completely blown away by the fact that his wife was banging Bob. And that's when Joey tells Jen that Dawson was wrong for being a piece of shit and calling everybody a slut, and that he just doesn't understand what the hell's going on. And they have a little heart-to-heart over what do they think Dawson's dick looks like, which I thought was kind of fucked up, but also I get it. And that's when she points out, like, based on certain factors like his height, his hand size, yet again with the hand shit, that he's probably got a pretty big dang, and, whatever. So we cut back to Doug, Pacey, and Tamara. Now they're playing Monopoly. They're talking about their favorite movies. Doug invites Tamara over to show him a classic movie. And he says that him and Tamara can make a night of it and they can have a little, romantic evening and leave Pacey behind. That's when Tamara points out the fact that, well, what about your sexual orientation? Obviously being gay, because you find out that Pacey has secretly gone behind his back and said to Tamara that he's a closet case and to stay away from him, right? Well, he's so pissed by this that he literally, and he's a police officer, right? So he's a police officer. He pulls out his service weapon and points it at Pacey in his face and says, like, tell her I'm not gay. Like, that's how serious this is. And it's like, dude, there's so many things wrong with this scene. It's like, first of all, Pacey, you're not cool at all for continuously going behind his back and bullying him about being a closet case, whether he is or not. Like, it's really not confirmed or denied, right? Because you really have no idea. But after watching him yank his gun out on Pacey for having the gall to call him gay, I'm starting to wonder what the fuck is going on behind closed doors. And the fact that Pacey doesn't seem the least bit scared to have a gun put in his face gives me like this strange feeling that this has happened before, and that he just doesn't seem to be fazed by it, you know? So he says, all right, you're not gay, like, put the gun away. But it's like, dude, none of this is cool. I don't know how he gets away with that. He should be fired. Pacey should not be okay with him putting a gun in his face. And also, like, Pacey, stop calling him gay. Obviously, all of you quit it. And Tamara, start fucking a grown man instead of a kid. Like, this is crazy. So now we get one of the more dramatic moments in the episode. Dawson's mom tries to go out and talk to Mitch in the SUV, running out in the rain, and he tries to explain to her that, like, love at first sight, and he fell for her so quickly and everything. And now that he's fallen for her so quickly, in this moment, he's going to rapidly hate her now. And it's like, dude, this sucks. It sucks. Like, obviously, she shouldn't have cheated on Mitch. That wasn't cool. Having an affair with a dude you work with isn't cool. I get why he's hurt, but, like, his response is like a 10 out of 10 anger towards her in the moment. It's like, okay, I get it, but I just feel that, like, maybe there should be more communication here, because everybody says what a great guy Dawson's dad is, but I've never seen anything in this show. In the entire time we've watched 5 episodes, his dad's been in like at least 2 or 3 of them. And every time you see his dad seems like a fucking idiot, right? He doesn't seem even remotely in tune with what the fuck is going on in his own house. And he's continuously fucking around with his weird restaurant diorama. I don't see the dude go to work ever. I don't know what he does. I barely even remember what he does for a living, if they even say it. It's just, he seems like he sucks. I'm just saying it. I'm going to say it. He seems like he sucks. And I'm not saying she's in the right for cheating on him, but his behavior is a little crazy, especially considering everybody seems to think he's awesome, and I just don't see it. But maybe that's just me. So the next day, you discover that the hurricane kind of diverted course, didn't cause any damage, or, caused mild to mediocre damage to Capeside. Most of the damage that the hurricane caused was having everybody in the same room and having all of them, behaving inappropriately, pretty much. So that's really the damage the hurricane does. It does the damage to the social group, not to the environment. And that's when Jen basically says she's grown up a lot. She's not that girl anymore, and she doesn't want to be that guy. She just wants to be like the person that he's in love with, and doesn't want to make it anything more than that, and just wants to go slow and be cool. That's when Dawson finally explains that, yeah, I've been a dick to you, and I'm really sorry I've been behaving horribly, but I really want to be with you. And he poses this whole scenario that's just his usual Dawson-like behavior, and we get them back together, and then we go back to Pacey and Tamara's place. All right, guys, we're almost done with this episode. We're pretty close, so we're going to run through this finale real quick. So basically, Pacey, Doug, and Tamara all have a little, like, I'll see you later. Doug tries to make a move on Tamara again, and she says, no, I'm busy. And what she means is, I'm busy doinking your underage brother. Then we cut to Dawson and Jen finally having the confrontation that they needed to have, because, of course, Dawson has been behaving like a ridiculous fucking asswipe to her for having the gall to have a past. She's now gonna just lay it all out on the line. So now you get the whole Jen backstory in graphic detail, and it's pretty horrendous. She loses her virginity at 12 to some dude who got her drunk, which in modern terms, we would not call that just, what we would call that. After that, she has multiple partner sexcapades. She's drunk. She avoids a pregnancy scare. Then she's caught apparently having sex in her parents' bed, I believe. Yeah, it's her parents' bed. So she's having sex in her parents' bed. And then, of course, because of that, they ship her off to Capeside, hoping that their religious grandmother, who might be mildly racist, or is racist in this episode, will straighten her up and make her fly right. That's when we find out that, they do one last if scenario where he basically says, like, would you redo your life and do it differently? And she says no, but she also says that, like, this is all too risky and they need to be done. Pacey says no, that's what makes it so hot, which I yet again don't like. Then we return to Mitch and his wife sitting on the front porch staring at each other, And he says, what made you start an extramarital affair? And she sheepishly tells him that basically she just did it because, life was too easy and that she just wanted to do it. So that's, just not, she could have said anything else, dude. And he, of course, basically says that he's no longer in love with her and he doesn't want anything to do with her anymore. And that's when you see Dawson upstairs. He apologizes to Joey finally, and he says he's sorry he was a dick, and she's hiding in the closet and makes another Jaws reference, and the episode ends with everybody being friends again.